The most successful coaches I know don't have a PhD or even years of clinical experience. And if you've ever wanted to turn your passion for helping other people into a real career without having to spend years in school or completing hundreds of hours of continuing education, listen up because this is for you. The Integrated Attachment Theory Certification Program will give you the tools you need to understand human behavior at the level most therapists aren't even trained in. This isn't just another mindset or trauma healing course, it's deep inner work and the business systems rolled into one program that you need in order to thrive.
Welcome to part two of my deep dive on Thais Gibson and the Personal Development School. If you missed part one, you can find it here. On this part, I'm going to move on to business practices, theoretical foundations, and where Thais Gibson fits within the world of self-help and psychology. I would say the reputation of Thais Gibson and the Personal Development School is largely positive, but reviews are often mixed. Some users find her work transformative for healing, while others have noted that her advice should not replace therapy for severe trauma or have expressed concerns regarding the cost and business structure of her school. Some people report billing issues and difficulties canceling subscriptions. Among critics, there's a sense that Thais Gibson and the Personal Development School are getting too corporate, too commercialized, that maybe Thais Gibson is selling out. More appearances on talk shows, podcasts, more clickbait, more gimmicks, more ads, slicker marketing, deceptive offers, and content that exploits unhealthy behaviors for profit. Look, there has to be a balance between genuinely caring about people and being authentic, and also being skilled at getting people's attention and convincing them to pay for your services. But people have been wondering for a few years now if this balance is tipping towards profit over people. One of the first criticisms I saw, and believe me, people on Reddit have plenty, is that Theis's videos have gotten more and more geared towards exploiting the pursuer-distancer dynamic. They say sometimes it's subtle, but it's still there. Here's what this Redditor said. I was considering making a similar post because it's gotten ridiculous. Honestly though, I was afraid of the feedback I'd get here, so I'm glad I'm not alone. I feel she has recognized that videos about avoidance get the most views, so the ones about dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance have gone through the roof. It's unfortunate, but feels like she's selling out a little. I understand there's only so much to say about attachment, but I think she'd be better off reviewing videos from years ago for new viewers. I find myself avoiding her videos, and I loved her. What did it for me was hearing, if you want to take a deeper dive, every video promoting her school. One explanation here is that the ideas for Theis's regular YouTube videos apparently come from questions within the school, where paid members vote on them and she answers the ones with the most votes. Thais does seem to be doubling down on YouTube. Her thumbnails have recently gotten the AI treatment, and I recently noticed this new video featuring none other than this guy in a video about grooming. People have also said that the YouTube comment sections and the Facebook groups are out of control with virtually no moderation of toxic negative comments. People are being put off by all of the advertising. On Facebook alone, I found that her page was running 56 ads. Let's talk about the coaching program at the Personal Development School. Thais, as we established in part one, is essentially just a life coach herself, but she offers courses to train other attachment coaches in her integrated attachment theory. And as with most of these kinds of courses, it comes with the selling point that once you get certified, you too can be your own boss and build your own thriving practice. By the way, you wouldn't believe how many ads I got for coaching courses while I was doing research for this video. It's clearly a moneymaker for a lot of established businesses. Based on the website, the course is 12 weeks long and has a final exam where you can pass with just a 60% score, and you can take the test 3 times if you need to. A couple people said she speaks at people, which comes off weird or cult-like, but that sounds a bit subjective. One Redditor complained that she left the coaching program after no one would answer her questions about her theoretical basis. I've also done her coaching program, and I expected that during it, I would be able to ask questions about the theoretical foundations for her process and her claims. That never happened. I emailed repeatedly asking for that. I never got any actual response. I eventually called her out on it and got my money back. So let's talk about theory. Thais claims to have her own expanded and modern version of attachment theory, and yet her language betrays an adherence to a version of attachment theory that I would regard as weak, oversimplified, and misguided. It's the very popular social psychology version of attachment theory. When you hear terms like fearful avoidant and yes, attachment styles, that's how you know she's speaking from more of a social psychology framework. And this social psychology framework also includes those free online self-report quizzes. Just take a look at this test result that I achieved on her website where I scored 28% secure. Despite scoring a total of 72% in insecure styles, I still managed to get classified as a securely attached person. That should tell you something is horribly wrong here. Now, I know this isn't unique at all to Thais Gibson. I also know that 99% of you have no clue what I'm talking about here. So please stay tuned and I'll definitely get into more of this in other videos. Oh, and Thais apparently also developed family and work attachment quizzes and even talks about money attachment style, which is fitting since in her earlier days she talked more about health and wealth and not just attachment. Finally, let's take a look at who Thais Gibson is and where she fits into things. Thais comes from a New Age background, and it's clear that Thais's master's and PhD degrees were both associated with metaphysics, or more specifically, New Age spirituality. The term personal development is very common in those circles, so it would make sense that that's where Thais got the name. Here's an unlisted video in which Thais Gibson hosts an interview for a New Age channel.
Is huge. That really makes a difference. I mean, I was just in Europe and I had to drink out of, say, plastic water bottles for like quite a few days, and I could feel my vibration like going down. And then once I got to spring water or really good water and I flushed myself with that, my vibration instantly went up.
Wow, that's really powerful.
You'll start to feel it. So it takes a second because our bodies might not be fully, operating at their optimum. And then also having like really good organic food, like so purely organic, lots of vegetables, lots of fruit, alkalizing diet, like those kinds of things truly will change your physical body because it'll make it feel more light and alive, which will then change your emotional experience, which will then change your life and vibration. So food and liquid is really important.
There's another video where she interviews Teal Swan and JP Sears.
Welcome to our podcast. My name is Thais Gibson, and I'm honored to be hosting two incredible guests today, Teal Swan and JP Sears. Teal Swan is a worldwide spiritual teacher, reaching millions of people on YouTube and publishing multiple books, including The Sculpture in the Sky and The Completion Process. She is the creator of an incredible healing modality, also known as the completion process, and travels around the world using her extrasensory gifts and acquired wisdom to help thousands of people on their healing journeys. JP Sears is an incredible emotional healing coach, international traveler and speaker, and YouTube sensation. He hosts a busy practice with clients where he enables people to empower themselves and to step into their personal power. JP runs international retreats for personal empowerment and self-development, and infuses comedy in his work in order to help people further break through their limitations. He has a very active YouTube channel called the Ultra Spiritual Series to entertain people in their personal growth journey. Thank you both for being here today.
Thais seems to have been influenced by people like Tony Robbins. Thais credits Tony Robbins for her use of the 6 basic needs and linked to one of his videos on her old business account on YouTube. Tony Robbins is a controversial figure and doesn't have any education past high school. And if it's not clear by now, I personally don't find the New Age or self-help world all that attractive, and I take anything from those worlds with a big grain of salt. Perhaps Thais's biggest interview so far has been with Mel Robbins, no relation to Tony, who herself is trained as an attorney but cemented herself as a life coach and an author and talk show host in the self-help space, despite not having any psychological credentials. If you look her up on YouTube, there's a lot of reasons to be concerned about Mel, including that she allegedly uses psychological tricks on her audience, stole the let them theory idea from a poet, and declined to credit her own daughter as a co-author on the book. Thais Gibson, though, used her in this ad for the Personal Development School.
Now, if you've never heard about attachment style, there are 4 different attachment styles. You're going to learn in detail about all 4 attachment styles. And I love the expert that I have for you today. Her name is Thais Gibson. And one of the reasons why I like the way that she explains attachment theory is she gets into the nitty gritty. You're not only going to understand the 4 different attachment styles, she will explain things like, okay, if you text someone and they don't text back for 3 hours, this is how you will act based on your attachment style.
And remember Nima Rahmani? Thais added this overview method for trauma course on her credentials, even though Dr. Rahmani is just a chiropractor. Thais has spent years developing her methods and her courses at the Personal Development School. I've heard about some of the exercises and homework from the school, and I've heard some rave reviews. I'm curious enough that I might want to sign up and check it out myself one day. Some of Thais's fans are saying that it doesn't matter if her degrees are questionable. What really matters is that her advice and methods work, and you have no right to complain if she has offered so many YouTube videos for free. But I disagree with that. Thais comes from a New Age spiritual self-help background. The self-help industry is a lucrative business. Global estimates go between 38 and 50 billion annually, and that may double in the next decade. And it's also an industry that has, from its very inception, attracted charlatans, grifters, narcissists, pseudoscience, and pop psychology. Transparency, honesty, and accountability matter, regardless of whether things work or don't work, or how much free stuff you get. The thing about the self-help world is it's about marketing hope and inspiration, not necessarily about long-term change. It's about the cult of personality. And if you don't have good judgment and critical thinking skills, you're going to fall prey to it. There's nothing wrong with educating people in attachment theory without a license, and there are a few people out there doing that responsibly. But let's be honest, what Thais Gibson is doing goes far beyond just passing on information that she's read in books by actual psychologists. Thais is calling herself a counselor, has private clients, boasts of being trained in 13 therapeutic modalities, runs courses on healing mental health conditions, runs courses to certify attachment coaches in therapeutic modalities, has trained her staff in therapeutic modalities, and even claims to have her own spin on attachment theory called integrated attachment theory. And it's trying to convince you that her experience as a coach is psychological research. For years, she has put herself in a place that is ethically questionable. She's essentially an unlicensed therapist giving out mental health advice at an enormous scale. By the way, licensed therapists have to do 1,000 hours of supervised therapy, are insured, and they are held accountable by state boards. Life coaching is still completely unregulated in the US and Canada. I'm not going to say that Thais is a grifter, but her lack of transparency, hyped up and overstated image, and maybe a slightly cult-like following, lead me to believe that she's someone who is trying to girl boss her way into success as an entrepreneur and shouldn't be taken too seriously as an attachment educator. On the other hand, maybe Thais is a maverick. Maybe she's a scrappy go-getter. who is pushing the envelope by bringing practical mental health solutions to hurting people at a time when a lot of Americans can't afford therapy and therapists are in short supply. I mean, where were all the psychologists when it was time to offer online courses on healing your own attachment? But at the end of the day, when I want to learn about attachment theory, I go to psychologists. I go to people who aren't famous, charismatic, or particularly attractive. I don't need self-help authors, spiritual gurus, marketers, or influencers. If you make inflated claims about yourself and your methods, run a ton of ads, play on people's hopes and needs, wear a lot of makeup, get Botox injections, and have ridiculously white teeth, don't be surprised if I'm a little skeptical about what you have to say. If Thais has immersed herself this much in attachment theory, why not get a real degree or get licensed? Or at least hang out with psychologists who are actually working in the field of attachment theory? Why would she associate herself instead with Tony Robbins and other self-help gurus, influencers, and coaches? Now that you've heard all of this, what do you think of Thais Gibson? If you think I missed something or got something wrong, please let me know and I'll try to keep corrections and additions in the description. Thanks for watching and see you next time.